Alright, college algebra friends, here's the review for the test that's Tuesday. So the first thing you have to be able to do is I give you a graph and you have to be able to pick the right equation. Now, because you all get to use calculators, all the coefficients are going to be letters instead of numbers. So you can't just plug it into your calculator. You have to know the characteristics. So I just want to talk about characteristics and not necessarily match them with the equation at the bottom. Okay? So if I look at this first one, I see that it's like a parabola, so I know that the degree has to be even. The degree has to be even because it looks like a parabola. Okay? So I would, pick 6, 8, 10, whatever. And then I look at the leading coefficient, and because it's opening up like a parabola, I know the leading coefficient has to be positive. Okay, that's what we're looking for. Because on the test, it would look like this. Okay, and so then you would have to pick whatever. And make sure you read carefully because one of them says the number of terms. So we'll talk about that too. This one is also an even degree because it's like a parabola, so I know that it's even. And its leading coefficient has to be negative because it's opening down. So those are the kinds of things that are important. This one is a degree that's odd because it's kind of like a line, goes like this, kind of. And I know that the leading coefficient is positive because it's got a positive slope when I go like that. So those are the kinds of things you have to keep in mind. Okay? All right, and then you can try to match them. I don't know if I matched them all correctly or not when I put the answers on. You have to kind of look at the other stuff too, but because you're not getting to use your you can use your calculator. I don't want it to be like I'm just plugging it into my calculator. It's super easy. All right, I'm rambling. All right, so I don't know how much you remember, but with the multiplicity and whether it's odd or even and that kind of stuff. So I wanted to do number 10 with you. I noticed that this is x plus 7. So the first thing is that you have to be able to tell me what the zeros are or the roots. So I know I have negative 7 from the x plus 7, positive 3 from the x minus 3, and negative 9 from the x plus 9. Remember when it's odd, remember that's the multiplicity. When it's odd, it crosses the x-axis. So that one crosses, this one crosses also. And when it's even, that's when it's tangent. Okay, remember that's called the multiplicity. I think we've already had a video on that. I looked back and it looks like we do. So kind of keep that in mind. Crosses or is tangent. Multiplicity. So remember, and then let's just throw in the degree here. If I look at this, the degree for this is 3 plus 2 is 5 plus 1 is 6. So the degree is 6. And the leading coefficient, notice there is no leading coefficient there. So it's a positive number. So it would open up and it has 3 zeros, and this is where it crosses or is tangent. Okay? All right. So one of the things I'm pretty sure we have not talked about is the idea of a turning point. Okay? That was on the final originally, and that's where it comes from. That's where these two questions come from. Maximum number of zeros is your degree, which is 6. Okay, so now turning point. Now let's just pretend I have 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which this one wouldn't go that way. It would go the other way because it's positive. So let's just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, turning points. Notice when I go from down to up, that's a turning point. When I go from up to down, that's a turning point. Down to up, that's a turning point. up to down, that's a turning point, then up, and that's a turning point. Notice I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 turning points. The number of turning points is always, or the maximum number, is always one less than the number of the maximum number of zeros. Okay, the number of turning points is always one less than the maximum number of zeros. So when I look at this one, maximum number of zeros, I have an 8. This pi is just a number, don't let it throw you off. So 8 is the maximum number of zeros, and the maximum number of turning points is one less than that, which is 7. Okay, so that should be pretty simple. X and Y intercepts. I'm just going to do this one, and you can do the others. Remember, for the Y intercept, you have to let X equal 0. So Y equals 3 times negative 1 times 2. I'm putting 0 in for X. 2 times negative 2. And so that would be negative 6 over negative 4, which is 3 over 2. So that is the point 0, comma 3 over 2, if it asks you to put it in the. So those are that's my y-intercept. I only have one y-intercept. The x-intercept for this, let me change colors so that I can kind of draw along here. My x-intercept, the y has to be 0. Now, when a fraction is 0, that means the numerator is 0. Okay, so in order for a fraction to be 0, we only care about the numerator. Okay, x minus 1 and x plus 2. Okay, so my x-intercepts, my x-intercepts are where, although technically I got a hole at x plus 2, so anyway, but I say that x is either equal to 1 or x is equal to negative 2. That's where it's kind of crossing the x-axis. So that would be the point 1, 0 and negative 2, 0. Okay, x and y intercepts. And again, you can use your calculators to help you. Just double check those things. All right, asymptotes, holes, and domains. That's the same question that we just had, except, the same function, different question. So I got a hole. Whenever you can cancel out, that's when you have a hole. So a hole at x equals negative 2. We have an asymptote, a vertical asymptote, at this other one, x equals positive 2. Okay? And how about, that's my vertical asymptote. How about horizontal asymptote? Remember, horizontal asymptote had to do with degrees of the numerator and degrees of the denominator. So these two degrees are the same. So I know that it's going to be y equals 3 over 1, because that's where my coefficient is. Okay, when the degrees are the same, you look at the coefficients. So and remember, there's only one horizontal asymptote at most. There might not be any. This guy, number 19, its horizontal asymptote, the degree of the denominator is bigger, so this one is y equals 0. Remember, when the degree is different, this one, the degrees are the same, so this one is 1/2, because those are my coefficients. And this one over here looks like the denominator is bigger again, so my horizontal asymptote is 0. Okay? This one, solve the system. You're going to have some systems to solve. You can always double check. But this one I would solve by elimination. And I would try negative 2. So that I multiply this, I get negative 8x plus 4y equals negative 10. And then 8x minus 4y equals 10. And I add those two together, I get 0 equals 0. This means these two are the same line. So It's not no solution because 0 equals 0. It's the same line. So when you write the answer to this, you're going to write it like this, the set of x, and then solve for y. Solve one of the equations for y. So 4x minus 2y equals 5. Solve this for y, we get negative 2y equals negative 4x plus 5. Divide by negative 2. Divide by negative 2. Y equals 2x minus 2.5. So that would go right here, 2x minus 2.5. And then it's going to say where x is any real number. That's how we write this answer. I'm telling you this. Make sure you're paying attention to this because that one's on the test. Or not that one, but one very much like that. Okay? So make sure you know how to do that one. Graphing the inequalities. I think I'm getting a little... So, and then finding 2 points in the solution set. So for me, I graphed each of them x minus y less than or equal to 5. And then subtract x. So I get negative y less than or equal to negative x plus 5. Divide by negative 1. Y is greater than or equal to x minus 5. So I start at negative 5. 1, 2, 3. I shouldn't put marks there. I shouldn't put numbers, not marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I start at negative 5. And my slope was 1. So I go up 1 to the right one, up 1 to the right one, up 1 to the right one, like this. Pretty sure it's a dotted, solid line because it says equals. So I draw my solid line, hopefully as best I can. And then I decide which side to shade. I could use what I just solved, but if I made a mistake, which is very possible, I'd look at the equation. Is 0 less than 5? The answer is yes. 0, 0 is less than 5. So I want to shade that side because 0, 0 works. And now I'm going to do this other one. I'm going to solve it for y by subtracting 2x. So 3y is greater than minus 2x plus 12. Divide by 3. And I get y is greater than negative 2/3 x plus 4. So start at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Start at 4 and negative 2/3. So go down 2 to the right 3. Down 2 to the right 3. Up 2 to the left 3. And this one is a dotted line. Having trouble finding the points. Sorry, it's kind of early in the morning. And then looking at this, is 0 greater than 12? That answer is no. 0 is not greater than 12. So I want to shade this side over here. And so this is my solution set. This was for the pink guy, for the other one. So my solution set is right here, the double shaded area. And when it says find 2 points in that, you can pick any 2 points that you want that's in the double shaded region. And any of those. And so the 2 that I picked were there. All right. Okay, so I have 2 more problems that I picked that I wanted to do for you. This one is, I just wanted to point out, when it says f of negative 3 is equal to 9, that means x is negative 3 and y is 9. So this is the point, negative 3, 9. Okay, and then this one over here, this is the point, negative 1, negative 5. So you're supposed to write an equation in that form. So you have 2 points. So the first thing you do is find the slope. And then you do, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Or you can solve for b. So let me just write that down. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, in case you're trying to memorize formulas. So find your slope using those two, and then you take either point and plug it into that. And I showed you how to do that on the answer key. Now this one is a fourth degree polynomial. This is important because I give you words like this on the test, and then you have to pick the right one. Okay, so fourth degree, that means, actually I should probably do this one. Ninth degree. Ninth degree, ninth degree. That means that my x's all have to add up to 9. So it touches the x-axis at these 2 points. If it touches, that means those have to be even. So x plus 2 has to be to an even exponent. X minus 1 also has to be to an even exponent because it touches. That means tangent. Okay? Here it crosses at these. So x plus 8 has to be odd. X minus 3 has to be odd. And x minus 7 has to be odd. So you have to come up with, and then the last thing, and goes to negative infinity as x gets very big. So it's going to negative infinity as x gets very big, and positive infinity as x gets very small. So it's going to be like this. So your leading coefficient has to be negative. Okay? So now you have to make sure all of your exponents add up to the right things, being odds and evens. So you can start with whatever you want. You can say x plus 8 to the 1, x minus 3 to the 1, x minus 7 to the 1. So that's a total of 3. I need a total of 9. So 9 minus 3 is 6. 9 minus 3 is 6. So these two have to be even. You can't just split them because that would be whatever. So if I have 2 and 4, that makes 6. Okay, so then put them all together, and that's one of the answers on the other side. You could have also made this a 3 instead, and then this gone back over here to a 2. Doesn't matter, but the answer's on the answer sheet. Okay? All right, so good luck with this. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll meet Thursday tonight.